Massimo Eddy. Last night there was Massimo Eddy. Last night there was another Neo-Gnostic. In ancient times, the Gnostics were heretical sects whose beliefs were at odds with early Christianity. They believed that human transcendence were directly achievable. The Neos may be just one more group of cyberspace outlaws with designs on founding virtual colonies in the global net. If the latter is true, transgression will scrub them. We may do that in any event if the need for a high-profile buzz arises. Psionic League. Of the dozens of illegal operations we monitor, the Psionic League is the most dangerous threat to stability, especially if the leader, Columbus Pistola, should ever decide to politicize his organization. The League has been tolerated at this point because it is the inspiration for similar groups. No one better knows the danger of unrestrained psionic ability than Spatola. He's one of the most powerful psionics on the planet. His life is a case study of the hardships that psionics endure when forced to master their abilities alone. His early hardships led to the founding of the League and his near-fanatical belief in the benevolent use of the power. Eschatology Incorporated. Recent intelligence reveals that Hercule Rue and his researchers are no closer to learning any of hell's essential secrets. Decoeur serves his purpose. His obsession with hell, his attempt to map it and to catalog its horror help to maintain the public sphere. Meats. Data from reality container shows an increase in illegal attempts to reproduce the human tissue lab of new corporeals biologics, officially named service units. New Corp's infamous products are widely referred to as meats. Meats epitomize the relentless perversion of God's creations of human hands. As so with many nightmares, it all started with good intentions. The goal of providing servant machines for the masses was lofty and laudable. But when the meats were introduced into the market, the public was outraged. The meats were twisted parodies of humanity, flesh without souls. Within 6 months, the meats were a moral scandal. When several developed cancer, it was more cost-effective for New Corporeal to discard the entire tissue casing than it was to perform surgery. One hate group began to burn meats in public. The meats were withdrawn from the market and New Corporeals closed. Now, outlaw entrepreneurs seek to revive the technology for use in foreign markets. Such criminal efforts are precisely what transgressions and ARC were formed to combat.
The attempt to study spiritual truths has not yet. The attempt.
And there they are, Gideon Ashanti and Rachel Brock, fugitives from a system they served with faith and ardor. Once pure and righteous, now expelled and hunted.
What the hell? How'd this guy make us? His write-up doesn't have him a looker.
Mystery to me, hon. Give it, Professor. How do you know who we are?
I could ask the same question, you know. If the transgressor's office knows of this location...
Feel free to panic. They know about it. They're just waiting till it's your turn to be the scrub of the month. Don't kid yourself. You're like everybody else, living at the whim of the Hand.
We track what happens in places like reality containment. When the Hand orders 2 ARC investigators scrubbed, that's news in the underground.
So you know us. That just makes things easier. You know we're not working for ARC.
Quite so. Very well. I am listening, then.
Ms. O'Connor was killed the same night the scrub team came for us.
I know that, Miss Brock. She was murdered while she slept, killed by the people you used to work for.
Believe it or not, we're trying to find out why Deirdre O'Connor and 5 other people were scrubbed on the night we were attacked. If we can establish some connection between the victims, it might help us to clear ourselves.
There's no mystery here. Deirdre, along with another scholar, Wickersham Dodge, worked European and Asian black markets for virtual realities. She was good, too. She'd just picked up a dozen dreamscape realities in Istanbul. But at the same time, the Istanbul foray was reckless. She was reckless. We knew the Hand was watching, that virtual media dealing in part with a legitimate religion could risk bringing the authorities down on us. She didn't care. It was as though she thought she couldn't die. She was an unusually physical woman. I suppose she thought she could fight her way out of any problem.
She was combat trained?
Not that I know of. But if she was, she would have been fearsome. She was, as I said, quite physical. Over 6 feet tall, quite athletic. But I know little about her past. You should speak with David. He's a novice here who worked as her assistant. Yes, I speak Latin and several other languages fluently.
We could have a use for that. The Hand indulges in Latinate phrasing for much of its encryption.
I know, yes, I know. And you need a translator. But my services are not without fee. I have a job that requires someone with your skills.
What skills, Professor?
Skills that allowed you to evade a scrub team.
Don't ask us for a replay, Professor. Adrenaline kicked in. Reflexes took over, and we got really lucky. We're not mercs, if that's your angle.
What I have in mind is much safer. A simple breaking and entering. There's an antiquities collector named Blystock, who lives in a penthouse near L'Enfant Plaza. He has an 18th century manuscript, the Blaze Parchment, that we must examine. I see what you're thinking. The Gnostics don't usually resort to thievery, but Blystock obtained the parchment illegally. It was supposed to have been included in a secret auction in an exurban slum outside Jakarta. I was there to bid on it, but it never came up for sale. I learned later that Blystock had stolen the parchment en route to Jakarta.
Blaze Parchment? This is familiar. We've come across this before.
Blaze was a scientist and philosopher, much at odds with the Enlightenment world in which he lived. Blaze's visionary work is said to have presupposed the essential structures of cyberspace. Unfortunately, his work was never published. Only this original copy remains. We must examine it. If you want my service as a translator, I'll have your service as a thief. Bring me the Blaze Parchment, and I'll help you.
A bookish woman.
Excuse me, not to intrude, but did I hear Professor Coronary say you were going to retrieve the Blaze Parchment from Blystock's clutches? Oh, I hope that's true. It would be a start to your redeeming yourselves for your ARC service.
You can shove redemption, Bookworm. We'll settle for survival. Relax, Bookworm. We spoke to Coronary. I wouldn't say we're welcome guests, but he knows we're not here to trash the place.
We're trying to discover why O'Connor was scrubbed. Any ideas?
She was, well, she was a trodehead. She could jack into cyberspace. Oh, she had a deck that she claimed to have jury-rigged. She was very good, too. Knew her way around. She used to work for the Sustenance Authority until she, well, as she put it, edge-surfed out of transglobe culture.
That computes, Gid.
I suppose so. In a limited sense, it does. O'Connor was a natural target. So was an eschatologist like Schoenbrunn, and O'Leary owned to speak with Sinn Féin affiliations. But I still don't see the link between us and these subverts.
You'd think a member of the
Hey, folks, zero in on Kate. She's had that ball moving for close to half an hour. Spatola's put her on an endurance circuit. She's to keep the ball going for as long as she can.
Well, what about you? You're a telepath as well?
I'm not a mover or a looker. I'm a rare one, a synesthete. My perception of sensory data blends so that I perceive one sense in terms of another. Colors taste, sounds are tactile, smells prompt visions, and I can never predict how the senses will sort themselves.
Fascinating. That must be difficult to live with.
Damn straight. I couldn't hold a job. Tried working in a restaurant, but I couldn't take customers' orders. They would ask for burgers and fries, and I would register it visually as big yellow splotches dripping with grease. Tried driving a cab once, but I kept experiencing the road as a taste, and it gagged me so bad I couldn't drive.
You were experiencing the road as a taste?
And it was awful. Tasted like rotted flesh and motor oil. Took days to get that out of my mouth. Well, that was the end of my career as a driver. I was fast-tracking to derelict status before Columbus took me in and taught me mastery over my powers.
A young woman.
Looks like you're working hard.
Columbus pushes us past our endurance and then some, but it's the only way to develop our powers. Talk to him yourself. You'll see. He's in the next room with Susie Toast, who's an ideal example of the work Columbus does here. Columbus had a big effect on her. She's become one of his most trusted assistants. It's almost like a father-daughter relationship between them now. I'm sorry, but speaking with you is distracting me. I'm afraid I'll drop the ball, and I'm working on a new personal endurance record.
The thinkers.
Can I help you with something? Are you psionic seeking help using your gifts?
We aren't psionic, and actually, we've come to help you.
I'm not aware that I need any help.
You won't know either until it's too late. The hand scrub teams don't usually call ahead to check if it's convenient for them to stop by.
You say the hand wants to kill me. You've got my interest. Keep talking.
No orders have been issued yet, but your activities are giving some high-ups in the transgressor's office the shakes.
The hand of God has nothing to fear from us. We aren't political, and we're sworn to never use our powers for gain. I thank you for the warning, however.
A young, pleasant-looking...
I heard what you and Columbus were talking about. You need psionic help?
Looks that way, but from what Columbus was talking about, it doesn't look like we're going to find it here.
Don't be too sure about that. I owe Columbus a great deal. But not all of us are as strict as he is about non-intervention.
So you're volunteering to help us out of this mess with the hand? What's in it for you?
I'm not the one who's going to help you. That would violate my principles as well and cost me Columbus's trust and friendship. No, there's someone else who might help you. Someone who has already fallen from grace. Someone I still might redeem. His name is Splits Magnola. He was a member of the League once, but Splits was a free spirit. He was jazzed on mind-surfing, couldn't resist the touch of another's mind, and he couldn't submit to Columbus's authority.
He read a few minds, big deal. I'd probably do the same thing if I were psionic.
It's not as simple as that. The power is seductive. Splits started out innocently enough. Skim a woman's mind to see if she was interested. Project a scan during a card game to see if anyone was cheating. But it's a small step from there to planting an urge in a woman's mind or looking at somebody's cards through their eyes. Or playing all the hands at the table. Making people throw away cards they should have kept. Things like that. Once you're inside, you flash on the brain's unending possibilities. You can't resist exploring. And Splits was careless. Lacked the mastery to be gentle.
All right, so Splits is a Rudy, and he got blackballed from your club. Why should we want to hook with a disrep like him? And what's your share in this?
Splits isn't the lost cause Columbus thinks he is. I know him. He isn't evil, just weak.
Know him? You mean you two were lovers? Sorry, girl, we don't have time to run love errands. You want your boyfriend back, you go get him.
Oh, you're a tough one, aren't you? I wouldn't have him back if he wanted me. Sex is different between psionics. We share countless connections. Body entwined with body. Mind pressed hard against mind. I've been inside his head, and I'd never trust him enough to love him. But I know that I can't let him destroy himself. The last we heard of him, he was involved with a gang of psionic psychotics, calling themselves the Menials. They worked the black market for empathic resonances in order to fund their drug habits. If you can get him away from the Menials and bring him here, we might be able to save him from himself and gain you a psionic ally.
Maybe we're interested. Where do we find the menials?
They have a dive near the Capital South Station.
And they're dealing in empathics, right? What's their source? They aren't just randomly panning the malls, are they?
All I know is that they're strip mining pure emotion from the patients in a mental hospital. I don't know which hospital. For that matter, it might be a no-name CRISPR. Just keeping the patients alive and scared so the emotions keep coming. The menials have to be stopped. And you can help me.
Why should we?
Because that's my price for helping you with Splits. You bring him here, and I'll see that he helps you. The menials aren't empaths. They don't care about anything, so they have to employ collector units, they call them diggers, to help them harvest emotional energy. If you can bring me one of the diggers, I'm sure I can add a cyberfry to it that will stop them. Help me stop the menials and bring Splits to me, and I'll make certain he helps you.